I'm Michael Ruttle, immigration attorney and founder at Ruttle Law PC, based in Torrance, California, where we practice immigration law in all 50 states. Every day, local, national, and international news outlets cover the biggest immigration law stories being discussed throughout the United States. Why? Because immigration law affects everyone. You hear us say that here all the time. So what we're trying to do with this is going to be the first in what we hope is a series of many videos. We constantly get questions about stories that are portrayed in the news where clients ask, Mike, how does this affect me in my immigration case? So what we're going to try to do every week is touch on some of the biggest news stories that were discussed for the past week. So here is our first video. Today is Friday, October 18th, 2019, and here's what's happened in the past week. On Monday, CNN reported that California is going to start shutting down private for-profit prisons throughout the state. This refers to a law signed by Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. It goes into effect January 2020, and what's going to happen is for-profit prisons are going to be phased out by the year 2028. This is big because a lot of these for-profit prisons are places that house the majority of immigrants in detention. So that's a big story to pay attention to. On Tuesday, The Hill reported that business school deans across the U.S. are urging members of Congress to pass immigration legislation that will overhaul the H-1B system and other skilled worker programs. Why? Because many foreign students who spend years here getting their education in the U.S. trying to get trained here are often left without many options once they graduate. So that's a big story to see what happens. As you can see, it's so important that even deans from across the nation are urging members of Congress to benefit their students. On Wednesday, Bloomberg reported a story about the U.S. Supreme Court taking up a case that's going to have impacts across the country regarding state and federal enforcement of immigration laws. Oral argument on that case was set on October 16th. We're going to see how the court decides, but basically the issue in that case was whether a state can use information on Form I-9 to prosecute someone for violating a federal immigration law. And that is huge because anybody who owns a business in the U.S. and has employees, or anybody who has ever been an employee, is familiar with Form I-9. It discusses the right of somebody to work legally in the United States. That's huge, and it's going to be very important to see how the Supreme Court rules on that because that could have drastic impacts on businesses nationwide. On Thursday, the Los Angeles Times reported something very interesting. They took a poll, UC Berkeley took a poll in California and found that registered voters, both Republicans and Democrats, tend to agree that immigration makes the U.S. a better place to live. That's in line with something we've talked about all along here at Ruttle Law, that immigration is generally a good thing. It's part of our history, and most people in California seem to agree. And on Friday, today, the Orange County Register in Orange County, California, reported the story about a U.S. Marine veteran who got last-minute reprieve from deportation thanks to Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, this is a big story because there are many immigration benefits available to members of the military and their families. However, being an active military member or honorably discharged military member is not an absolute protection when it comes to immigration benefits. So it's important to see how the government treats members of the military with respect to immigration. Other big news that was discussed in many outlets this week is the public charge rule. There's a new rule that was supposed to go into effect on Tuesday, October 15th. However, a judge in New York put an injunction on that. What does that mean? It means they said no, stop. So that law is stop. It's been enjoined from going into effect until further notice. However, pay attention because anybody applying for a green card in the future, whether inside the U.S. or outside the U.S., might be subject to those new rules regarding the public charge of inadmissibility. Other things to watch out for is the upcoming Supreme Court term. There are 3 immigration cases that they're going to be taking up. One concerns the future of DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, dealing with children brought to the U.S., or people brought to the U.S. as children. Another case is the I-9 state versus federal law that we just talked about. And then another issue is a constitutional issue regarding the liability of government officers, specifically Customs and Border Patrol officers, CBP. In that case, there was a border officer who fired a shot into Mexico, killing a Mexican national. And the issue in that case is whether the family of the boy in Mexico has a right to bring a lawsuit against an officer in the United States. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this develops. As we say all the time, immigration laws affect everyone, and it's constantly evolving. So if you want to stay up to date on how immigration laws affect everyone and what these changes are, hit that like button, click that bell, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and follow us on Facebook to stay up to date on how immigration laws affect everyone. Until next time, I'm attorney Michael Ruttle. Keep climbing that mountain.